Welcome to the Scrabble stream. Let's play some Scrabble. This is going to be round 1 of a 6-round event. I see something already, Agrarian. Let's try to find a good placement for it. That's fine. Get the R's up so we don't have vowel parallels next to them. Let's try that. I think it's good with the O as the back letter there as well, and that's going to draw a challenge. Anyway, it's going to be a small group today, 6 rounds. We'll hopefully get to play all 6, although there may be a bye. I actually don't know if Agrarian takes an S. I'll check it just in case. It does. And so we're kind of even on the 5-point penalties that we've handed off to our opponents. So yeah, hopefully they get numbers evened out by the time we get to more pairings, so we don't have to take a round off later today. At the moment, I almost wonder if I should just go with this. I mean, it is vulnerable, as it were, to a back S or something, but it's not really in the best position for that anyway. If I can do something similar to just get rid of... Yeah, it's very tempting to go like Volgo or something, but of course that in itself would also be vulnerable on the triple lane. So I don't know if we necessarily want to do that. If I could find some way to shed one of the D's as well, I'd like to, but I'm not exactly counting on it. We also could just go... Maybe something like valid over here. I don't know if I like that. Leave down below. It does block up a lot of lanes at least. But it's not like I'm ahead right now. That might not be a very good play. Oh, we should have just gone Vuln here. It seems so obvious in retrospect when I was just looking at a top spot. Yeah, okay. That's alright. Still warming up. Still figuring out the order of the day. Now, we probably should just dump Ulu somewhere for almost no points. This is going to present itself. The problem with that, of course, is that it would take an S hook up top on a triple lane. I don't know if I necessarily want to open that just for 14. It might be better to just sacrifice some points and go lower over here instead while we are still early in the game and could see a big play go down. I think we'll almost certainly have to do something like that unless we don't have a way to go unduly through an N, unfortunately. Or maybe we could just go like nodule or something. No, I don't like keeping the YU into that. Or like this. I mean, that's still vulnerable to the S behind, though. You know what? Let's just go with this. Taking way too long to deliberate over these tiny little rack management plays when we should be saving more time for the more critical plays in the end game as usual. So we'll just see what happens here. Having both of those Ys available, I'm thinking that we could do something like a Y parallel that goes down here. We should have actually considered even YU there, but of course, again, big triple lane risk going down all over the place. NY would take an E on the end, but I think not an S. Let's see if we have something that would trace a Y down here. I don't think so. Or even something over here. Yeah, not quite. I'm We don't quite have something like Boyo to go down there. We could just go 19 like this. And then still keep the idea with the other white going that way. This is not a great play. Like, we're playing too few tiles at a time here, but let's just try to manage to rack a little bit until we can get something a little bit bigger going. Change 3. I'm still trying to see if we have something that could hit over here, but I don't really see it at the moment. We could just take an FY over here, and that will hopefully not be too vulnerable. I mean, you know, we have spent both Ys, so a vowel might hit on the right side, but it won't be something huge. If it's 26 like that. These are such small plays. We could just go with an edify somewhere. Or something a little bigger. You know what? Let's just go with this. We're not really managing to rack towards something that would be a little bit more flexible and open, though. So right now we're just chipping away at some points on scoring tiles. On the right side, NY would take an E on the end, but I think it's only the E. Oh, and an M as well. I keep forgetting that NYM also goes. So we need to keep that in mind and hopefully kind of obstruct this sooner or later once the opportunity presents itself. I'm going to challenge NYS. I don't think it's good. It is good. Okay. Never mind. I was wrong about that. It does take the S. There's something, oh yeah, and it takes the S in front as well. SNY, NYS. It's the other big ones like FY and KY that don't take the S at the end. So, big mistake on my part. Let's see what we can do here. I can't believe the C up here. Like, if we get an H at the end of it, then maybe that makes a bit more sense. But let's figure out a better way to play through this. I'm trying to see if we can just... Yeah, these are such small plays over here, but we're still just kind of managing to rack. We can go something a little bit bigger, but no, IR is not a word. Never mind. This is really locking the board down, though, when I need to open it up. However, this area is still going to be open for later. Maybe we should manage to rack and try to go for that with something. We'll still be keeping the F&T, all tiles that will go in that area. And we're not going to get anything even close to good in that side. We need to open up a second lane as soon as we can. Also notice that this would be fairly low scoring with a 7 because it wouldn't hit any of the double word scores and might even dangle a big ass spot down below for counterplay. So it's not the best spot at the moment. This is technically kind of a lane. This with an end start would be weird, but playable. We will probably go with something like juice over here. And I don't like shedding that many vowels because it's still a kind of normal vowel consonant balance down below right now. But let's consider that for just a moment. And consider also maybe whether we could go down here. I have to think to myself if JUD is good in this lexicon. I think it is. I think this will be better than juice because we keep a better consonant vowel balance for similar points. Okay, starting to get somewhere. I guess if we can get something like a fix down at a certain spot, that would really get things done. But right now it's, oh, look at that, install. Nothing too good over here. I mean, we could just go XI with it and continue to leave some space down below with both the E spot here potentially and big start under there. I think that's probably what we'll go for unless I have a big play here. Not completely ruling out that there might have been something like a 7 available or an 8 available here as well, but I don't think so. So I think this would be the sensible thing to do to continue opening up a little bit and keeping ourselves competitive. I don't see a 7 in this. I need to consider whether there's something through the eye. And I don't see it either, but we'll keep it in mind. I don't think there's something in there, but we'll probably just continue making some small plays to open up some spots. Right now, it's not very open because the A spot earlier is gone. We have to consider the C up top as well. That's right now the F is the obstruction to us having something good. If we can play off just a very quick, like, oh, not FO, but something like OF or something to, we don't want to block our own lane down there, of course. We would maybe go with a different spot if possible. We'll see what is possible. I'm fairly close to probably drawing towards a bingo, but we need to get the lanes open to make it happen. Zep, ooh, look at that. That's really kind of dangerous here. It does close down the lanes, but we still technically have something available over the L, through the I, through the C. So I think this actually does get a lot done here. Of course, you know, we should see if we can just make a bigger play that scores about 60 and catch up in a bigger way and draw into the bag with a blank unseen. But if we're kind of averaging it out, if we get 33 or so here and then a likely bingo draw next turn, that might add up to more. Rather, like often would be like this. Soften would be like this. Are we sure there's no 7 in here? It doesn't look like there's one. But yeah, I think we go for this, score about 30, and then try to score about 70 next turn if we can. Let's see the draw. Hang on, a Damnist. That doesn't go. But does it go through the eye? I think it does, but let me check. Medians. It fits, medians, okay. What about through the C up top? Is a little constant heavy for that, I think. Yeah, a little bit unlikely. There's likely going to be a block on the eye. It's the most vulnerable spot right now after having shown once again that we play off 2 tiles. We should not forget about the N up top as well. So we're basically looking at these spots. The left side spot is where medians would go down. And if that does not go, then we need to think about a second place possibility. And we're behind by quite a lot right now. We'd probably be behind even after a bingo. It'll be interesting to look at the sim afterwards and see if this was the right idea or if scoring about 60 off of a soften for 59 would have been a better idea there. But looking at the bag, there are going to be some constant vowel problems with balance when it comes to just a whole bunch of E's, a whole bunch of I's, an unseen Q with no U's, but lots of I's. I think the nightmare play right now is just a single QI going down and then locking off the whole corner. so let's see what happens. Remember, we do want to look for any 7 hooks that might be created for Damnist if it does become available. But my opponent's taking some time on this turn, so we'll see why soon. And in the meantime, we'll just hold on here. I wonder if even just soft instead of soft and keeping A and E vowel heavy, but vowel heavy in a way that would play well sort of over the L or down to the C. Okay, so we'll almost certainly go medians, but let me make sure that we don't have something even better up top. Damnus will not fit, but notice that reach here is, I think, going to take a B in front as well. Let's be careful here. I think we'll probably just play medians. Oh no, does not fit. Did I miscount? I miscounted. Medians does not fit. Okay. I didn't even look at that properly. All right. That was great. That was terrible, actually. The whole time I was just assuming I'd drop medians there, and that actually didn't fit. This is what I get for not checking. I think we just have to go down like that, except, of course, it doesn't really open things up very much, and I don't like the vowel situation we're potentially drawing into. Would there be a reason to go shorter with that? Also, there's still enough room. Let's check for an S start up above. Is there something else in medians that we should, because sometimes I don't look closely enough at the 8s in terms of whether there's something that's an anagram of the 7 plus the S. There might be, in fact, but let me see, like an MIS or something. No, the I isn't up enough. Well, we need to score some points. Do we drop the N or do we keep it? Or NEST draw. We might want something vowel heavier anyway to fit over the L. I don't like blocking things off like that, though. This is... But somebody's going to take the triple, so let's just do it. Okay, great. We should be able to do something here. Now, we have things like entices up top with an EH start. So we have 2 spots, in fact, for something like entices. We'll see if we have a better fit there that could maybe end with the C. But if not, then, well... then we'll see. Yeah, likely we'll just drop entices up top or in bottom. Keeps the I lane open either way. So yeah, basically there's 3 lanes on the board. We'll like one might get blocked. We'll expand one of them. And if there's something through the I on the left side, we should consider that if the top spot with a triple gets blocked up. Because then maybe that would still reopen it. Well, it wouldn't really reopen any space on the left because, you know, even the best case placement would be something like this. But then perhaps there would be a follow-up play on the triples. And okay, wait. Before we do anything with entices up top, let's see if we want to do something with the R on this lane. Actually, we want things to remain open, so I think we'll just drop it. for 82 over here and take the points off the H. And then technically you still kind of have 2 lanes as long as there, well, 2 lanes here, 3 lanes here. Yeah, I think that's maybe the most open possibility. Now we're drawing potentially into a very perilous situation. 14 in the bag, lots of eyes, 1 Q, V. We're not really going to get a follow-up bingo. We need to play well out of this one and see what happens. And there's the Q. QIN here is the natural play. We're not quite catching up yet, though. But I think... oh, we don't have an extra E for revoke. But we could try to draw into revoke after Q and N. I have my doubts that it will remain open for that long. But of course, if my opponent is absolutely swimming in I's and G's without the N to go to G, then we could potentially escape this. Notice that there are endings with A, E, or O after the Z over here. The E ending would be maybe the biggest threat. But, you know, if you play off Q, N, then, well, you would no longer have invoke as a possibility. But we need to score over the Q, so I think we have to do it. But if we draw the other E, we could still have revoke in the bottom spot as well, and that would hit heavily. QIN has been blocked. And that is a big problem for us right now. Huge, huge problem. However, 5 in the bag, lots of eyes available. If we perhaps try to draw into one of the eyes, well, we would need a pretty clear plan for what to do with it. And right now I don't have one. Yeah, the Q situation is quite bad, actually. Quite bad right now. I think that's really interesting that this is a huge gamble on my opponent's part that they're not going to draw into the Q themselves, but maybe they're holding so many eyes that they're not worried about it. But even so, even if you're just holding QI by itself, you don't really have a spot to play. And so, 2 minutes on a very difficult turn. I mean, we can have the E down here as well, but maybe I should save my ammunition there. Otherwise, we'd go something like Rev, which, unless the other E is down there, it will not take much of a follow-up. Now, the problem, though, is that doesn't get me very close, and we're still potentially really stuck with the Q situation with no place for it to go whatsoever. And so, yeah, the Q is just going to kill me here, I think, because we might want to still keep E down here, but we just have no place to play the Q. So, and I don't know how to open a place to play the Q, unless we dangle an N somewhere and then try to go QIN into it. But anyway, I don't have much time to look at this. I really need to just play. It's 7 vowels, 5 consonants. Maybe we can just play like this, block out the bottom spot. But again, though, I'm counting on my opponent to try to open up a spot for the I. Okay, now we have QAT to save us. But that's just saving us from the Q stick, and I don't think I can catch on points. Like, I kind of needed a bit of a miracle draw to hit one of these spots, I think. But then we need to get rid of the Q or we just lose. So the only spot for it right now is Q, AT. However, if something opens up for QIN, wait. No, we don't have the vowels to do it. Nobody has the vowels to do it. The P is completely safe. Completely safe. But do we have something to go over here? No, opponent has 7 tiles. I think we just need to play this off quickly, and then what will they even do here? I have the other I for a quick follow-up for something like 17. That gets us close, but not quite. I don't remember if this takes an E on the end, because isn't that a kind of whale? But I don't know if it's a proper name for a kind of whale. I'm not going to try that unless we see the E go down first, I think. But in terms of tempo, that might be okay. But we need to think about an out and 2, and I have 25 seconds to look at it, so this is not a good situation. We have the R over here for 15. Because we can go R there, and if we can get Mink down somewhere else, 17 points, 15 points. The problem with Mink is I don't know if it takes to E at the end, and that's a huge, huge risk. That gets us some of the way. If we just do small plays over there, I'm not going to be able to do out in 2. I mean, if we had a better spot for the M, maybe we could do something there, but yeah, no, I can see for my opponent with something like a TG, AT, IGI, that might be good, except if something like that goes down, we would be able to maybe parallel down below it reasonably well, and that's probably the reason why it's not happening. TAI over there, okay. You know, no time to think about it. Let's take this side first. I don't think I can outscore it. However, did I miss? Oh, unfortunately, that's taken. Okay, so let's do that, and we'll lose. I think I missed something there. Yeah, maybe we should have gone to the left side. I just don't know if Mink takes an E, though. And okay. So we will lose by about 30. Yeah, I thought a mink was a whale. I just didn't remember if the mink was a proper noun for a male or if it's just, or for a whale. Yeah, no. Because I know it's a whale, but I couldn't remember if it was like a named whale or like or just a general term for a whale. Now that I see it, it's obvious, but it's one of those things where, you know, if I'm under 30 seconds, I can't think straight about this. So I missed a sequence, I think. Because I didn't have enough time to see what my opponent was doing to map out the rest. We might have been able to do something else here to finish with QIN, but I just did not see it in time. So yeah, we will absolutely want to look at this one in the analyzer later, so let me just request it quickly. And we're not being asked to be pulled into round 2 just yet, so I'll just step through the available plays and also update the record while we wait. And we'll be heading into round 2 very shortly. So yeah, very unfortunate loss there. I think that was troublesome as soon as I saw the Q draw, because it was a very difficult board to play out with a Q, and we'll see lots of challenges flying all over the place. I don't know, valid. Yeah, valid, I did not think would take an S or something, or any kind of back hook, but let's see if we just get anything. My opponent had the good grace to miss Clarions. over there. And diocese. Yeah, I was looking for something to end with the Y. I didn't see anything even close to that. There was a Q exchange. NYS I forgot about. Like I was thinking, oh, NYE, NYM. I forgot that NY does take yes. FY and KY do not. And my opponent gets the black draw over here and misses. Tonlet's hard to see that spot. And look at these nines that would have been possible here. Balanitis, Basaltine Bangtails. Bangtails, is that like a hairstyle? Oh, it totally is a hairstyle for a horse. And Flexi, where'd that go? Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that to keep things open. So I was looking at Soften and Of. I consider both of these plays. They're close by equity, but I would have to look at the sim for this one for sure, because looking at the pool, I didn't know if drawing that heavily into that pool when I still probably needed a bingo out of this would have been a good idea. I wanted to kind of have a high average score over 2 turns, and I was thinking Of might be a better path. And then we missed on this one because I totally misread how much space I had on the left side for medians. I didn't count that I only had 3 tiles after the I instead of 4, and so that was a bit of a goof. Coesite. Oh yeah, CH. I totally forgot about the CH possibility there for the extra 2 points. Ooh, look at that. Gigabit is a 6. So what are we looking at here? Kern. I don't think that gets me over the line for a window with... Well, actually, my opponent can't parallel down below it. Most I could do maybe put keg on it, and I would play out with M. I don't think there's a winning path at that point, though, but we'll have to look at the sim afterwards to be sure. Yeah, we'll be pulled into the next round at any time, but we can just back out here for a moment. I did not see Kintar here. That is emptying the bag, keeping KM, but where's the follow-up with KM? I don't see it. So we would still be depending on 2 plays out of that. And it is safe from any Q plays to the triple. But then I would need to make 2 plays with a K and the M, and I don't know where we would really score with that. So that might not be great. So Mink on this spot. But that's keeping the Q. I mean, at this point, you know, I think we had to play off the Q realistically. Because you can open up the I for the Q there, but it likely gets taken, and then we are stuck. So we need to run it through the endgame sim because this is very much a Q stickable situation. So the play that I saw from my opponent was something like a TG over here, ATIGI. That would give back a certain counterplay, though, and I might be able to score heavily into that, so I don't know if that would have won. And that would have kept IE for my opponent, which would have been reasonably flexible. But it would score very little and give back a decent amount. And although, what would I even play going into a TG? Yeah, I could play like Ink or something out of here, or probably nothing much heavier than that. So we'd have to map that out. Yeah, Kintaro Adun. As they say in the old Protoss civilization before it was Zerg to death. I mean, it said Zerg, by the way, isn't actually in the dictionary yet because it is one term that I think is actually going to make it in eventually. Because enough sort of computer game lingo that has been seen in the wild has made it at this point, and it's just a matter of time. I discovered today that Warcraft is actually valid as you would think it is, because, you know, people just talk about Warcraft as the art of war. But I was looking up valid words that ended in craft. And I was thinking, you know, at some point, that's a bit of a bucket list word. Okay, so I don't know what we're waiting on currently. We are just waiting to be pulled into the next match. I've already hit my ready check. And yeah, Dr. Cliche, I do remember that it was Nancy Zerg who was the Jeopardy player who took down Ken Jennings. And the reason I remember that was because of all the StarCraft banter about it at the time. Like, I noticed that at the time because so did everybody else who played StarCraft and happened to catch Jeopardy. You saw that Mac missed Clarion in a video recently. That's interesting. Yeah, so in Collins is Clarion and Clarino. I know Mac still mostly plays just North American book where it would only be Clarion in that rack. Anyway, I don't know who we're waiting on. I'll basically check what's going on in the tournament chat and see if opponents are actually set. I may have to look at what the pairing is for this one. I did say I'm ready, so I don't know. Yeah, so for some reason my ready check didn't go through. I'm playing the opponent who had a bye in the last round, and while they were waiting for an 8th player. And my opponent was active in the chat, but they might have canceled out or something. So yeah, there's a bit of a pairing issue on my opponent's end right now, so we're just waiting for that to get sorted out. Yeah, actually, the player name was mistyped. That's why my opponent's name was mistyped in the pairings list. So yeah, it was an issue because the tournament director kind of goofed on the spelling and accidentally pulled in the wrong player because it kind of autofills from the list of valid players, and they had a typo. So we will see what happens here. So a bit of a delay while we just get my pairing sorted out. So yeah, the pairing might need to get reset or something because basically I got paired with the wrong player ID. And there's something going on behind the scenes to fix that at the moment. Yeah, so I'm rotated onto a bye, but my opponent will be rotated back in. So once the correct player has been slotted in. Yeah, we're just waiting for my opponent to get rotated in properly, and then we'll click I'm ready once the pairing is actually validated. So just bear with us for a moment here while we get it sorted out, and we'll just see. Oh, okay. So that's curious that they can't seem to rotate me in with this player, and so we might be both together anyway. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, there was a typo issue, and it seems like it can't be fixed for this round. It's going to be fixed for next round instead. So yeah, we'll see if we can just play this one throughout the tournament format or something. I don't know. And hopefully that won't be a problem. Anyway, you were saying earlier, Dr. Cliche, that Wiktionary has no mention of descents. If you do a Google image search for bangtail, it is dominated by pictures of fly fishing flies. Interesting. Just an overlap, I guess, with the horse world. Anyway, we can see it. Like I can click I'm ready for the buy or something. Yeah, so there was an internal error for that because I'm not actually paired with anybody. I might just send a seek separately to the player in question. So yeah, that was just a bit of a system error in the back. So we might accidentally have to skip around today, but we can observe somebody else perhaps. I'll see what's going on with the other tables and see if there's anything interesting. Yeah, and so unfortunately, bye for round 2 today. But I think for standings purposes, it'll count as a free win. But you know, oh, you know what we can do? We can look over the analysis for the first game. That's what we'll do, actually. This one, yeah, they're already almost finished, though. That's the thing, is that we might not actually even have much time for that. Yeah, this one's looking like a bit of a blowout. But then I'm trying to see if there is a bingo available on this rack. I don't think so. It's pretty well defended at the moment. Okay, we'll just look at our first round analysis because actually these games are kind of finishing up already. Like round 2 is just done, so maybe we don't even have time to do that. But we'll do that. We'll look at it briefly and take a look at the end game at least. So one moment while I bring up the screen. So yeah, found a bingo in a pretty good spot, actually, the defensive spot. And we'll see if there are any really glaring issues. So I was saying that Ulu here was a medium mistake. It likes going U over there to the right. I was trying to consider some Y plays on the right side. I didn't see that specifically, though, and maybe we should have looked at that. So yeah, big miss on my opponent's part there with the Clarion spots. Here, I just didn't even see this as a possibility. The state of having separate male and female types. Interesting. Yeah, so the thing about an ulu is that it's a knife where it has a handle on either end and then the blade in the middle. And it was essentially used for cutting up creatures in the Arctic for meat. And you see them all over places like Alaska in the souvenir shops and the like. Not that you can necessarily fly with a blade like that. But once you've seen what an ulu is, it's pretty unforgettable. So, and also just an extremely useful word, one of the most critical words. So, of course, it gets into the Q situation at the end. So, FY was a huge mistake. And 9% drop in the bingo percentage. Look at this spot here. This is totally vulnerable to an X coming down on the right side. It's not the most probable play, but it's something that could have happened if you go Xenia or Xeris or something like that with an X that would just hit for just this obscene amount. But of course, it's not as much of a risk as just an S lane with something like Studier, so that actually would have been much better for denying the follow-up. So yeah, oh, I didn't see the spot here, actually. That would have been nicer in terms of the leave instead of playing off the W the way we did. And then, of course, it would leave more lanes open because it doesn't block up all of the early letters and Aurarians. Let me make sure we're not, we're not called into round 3 yet, so that's fine. And over here, Jut and Jut both available. That's interesting that Jut is actually slightly favored. Because even keeping the D instead of the F, you would think that FT kind of go together all right, but on this board, oh, I see. No, I see why. Because Jut still leaves the possibility of using your E down below. That's almost certainly why it seems better in terms of the bingo chances being much higher on D. Actually, not that much higher. Well, about 3% higher on the next turn. And the average score coming out quite a bit better, like 6 points better. So yeah, that would not have occurred to me. I would have just thought that the other leave was more synergistic, but this one technically opens up more space. So no wonder. Yeah, hey Jude, you're not a word, exactly. Take a sad rack and make it better. Okay, so XI is considered a medium mistake here. Flexi is significantly favored. It does open up a lot more room. Instead of forcing us to have the vowel start over the L. So I can see why. I just didn't think about it. That's a possibility, but it's about a 5% bump in win rate when we're well behind. And so I did consider soft, and soft does seem slightly better. Soft I was considering as well with the ANE. I talked about that play afterwards, in fact. Both of those do a little bit better than what we ultimately went with. We have a 65%, 66-ish percent bingo chance coming out of that. Much higher than if we just play for a big turnover like that. But interestingly enough, the average score is still decent for the following turn. And so just taking the points kind of evens out because we're kind of playing 33 points here, expecting to score about 70 the next turn. And it didn't pan out. Okay. Now, here, oh, team keeping DNS, really? I guess is a pretty vowel-heavy pool. I'm surprised by that. It is a valid heavy pool, but you do have SH as a potential start still. You do have the I to play through. I don't know about that, though. That's a hard one to understand. Yeah, because if you compare, obviously bingo chances are higher if I play dam up there instead, but why does the win percentage get estimated as higher then? That's interesting. Because I see a higher average for what I went with in terms of the average score next turn. That's very curious. I mean, it's 1.4% win rate. Like it's a rough estimate there, but I wonder what the rationale for team is because it's hard to see what the follow-up can be. Anyway, entices. Yeah, I forgot about CH up top. That's just a visualization issue. So a bit of a 2-point problem there. This was obviously obstructing the queue, but obstructing the queue in a way where my opponent still has it unseen in the pool, and so that is curious. Like if they think they can stay ahead and score, then I think it's actually preferable to leave the eye open in case I'm not the one drawing the queue, right? I mean, look at this leave here, right? This leave with the AT and the I, it's still pretty good in terms of flexibility for playing the queue off, even if you do pick it up. And so obstructing like that. I mean, I guess if you're keeping T and AT and such, you still have some possibilities of playing it off yourself. But yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so now we get into the part that I actually wanted to look at, which is the what is it? The pre-end game at this point when we have the queue situation. I have a very, very slight win percentage, as you can see on the left, and I wonder. And we were down on time at this point because I spent too long considering what could have happened here. So keeping the V, what is this even seeing for keeping the V? Because I would never have dreamt of keeping the V and the Q. But it does come out to a higher average score by about 7 points. I don't know where it's seeing that. Oh, I know. If you play OKE, I have the tiles that an E draw gives me revoke, and an I draw gives me invoke. And actually, you have a high probability of that playing off 3, that you... Yeah, because I was thinking about invoke and revoke already, and I was thinking, okay, I won't be able to get it, but if I just play oak, actually, that does open up the possibility of following up with that. Because look at this, it's 5 in a bag, you got 12 tiles in a pool, and it's a 5 out of 12 chance of drawing either the I's or the E to hit that. But then you still have to deal with the Q, right? So tempo-wise, I think there might still be some issues. Okay, a TG was not one of the things that was even considered here. Looks like this was considered a large mistake that dropped the win percentage by about 30%. Wow, okay. Probably because, had I drawn the E, I could have gotten Mink down on the left side, for instance, and that would have been a huge threat on my part. That opens up far too much. So this is a 5-point mistake over here. It's thinking that I should just play this and then thinking that if my opponent is playing optimally for equity, then you have stuff going this way. My thinking, though, is that as a human player, my opponent definitely is thinking about obstructing the queue at that point. And actually, this ending sequence does end with a TG as an optimization, just to outpace, and then Doesn't seem like it sees a line where the Q gets blocked. So, okay, look at this. Assuming that my opponent tried to make an optimal equity play out of my Q play, then Mink becomes open because it doesn't give away to E. And then you also get a TG as a finish after that underneath, like seeing that as a two-play sequence. So I think the game is lost at that point anyway. But let's see. Otherwise, we'd just say blown endgame, large mistake. I think it is just lost at that point. But the oak possibility for revoke and invoke would have been very interesting. What did I even draw out of that, actually? I did draw into QRT. Played off QT. Yeah, so I did draw the I for invoke had we gone for that route, but then I would have still had Q problems. Actually, I would have had the Q over the I in invoke, and then I would have the Q up top, so like that would have at least closed the difference a little bit. Anyway. We had no time to look at all that. I thought all the games were kind of finishing up. Let me see what's going on. The pairing issue has been a bit odd today. Yeah, so there were some issues here with the name being misspelled and the wrong user ID accidentally getting pulled in instead of the correct player, but now round 3 is good. So let's go. So yeah, just a bit of an administrative problem there. I'll make sure we label this correctly as round 3. And my record, I guess, because of the bye, is technically 1-1, even though I haven't actually won a game yet. So we'll just have 5 rounds today. That's okay. It's still not as bad as the week we had a few sessions ago where multiple rounds were lost due to players disconnecting and not showing up and so on. It was just an administrative error today, unfortunately. So let's see what happens. Quartile, okay. And let's see if I can do anything to get rid of this a little bit. If we have a place to play the funny looking NABK and ABK, that's a word. I wouldn't do it here because of the vowel leaf, but it's a fun one to think about. I don't know if we have maybe a way to... If we could just go Koa like that for 27. Or even Boa... No, Koa to take the points. Keeping the B isn't so much better to make up for the 9 points lost, I think. And then B can still go to the left of at. This is close to something. We'll see. The B is actually in the way right now. The K would have not done any better with this. Obviously, with a rack like that, very often we look at MAN, MEN, but I don't think we have anything to that effect. It looks like it's close to something that would make an 8, though. But notice that KOA does take an N on the end if we play through the I with something else. I don't know if that will become relevant, but we should keep that in mind. We should also... I should have looked this up last time. I was asking myself last time, is Anathem good or is it only Anathema? Or am I just thinking of the Neil Stephenson novel for Anathem? I was thinking that last week and I never actually bothered to look it up, and now it's relevant, right? Because that might actually be a play. I don't think I'll risk it necessarily. Let's see what we can do here. M would go on the side of the Y. I'm not going to risk it, but I have this nagging feeling that that's a huge miss on my part if I don't play it. H would go over here. You know what? We might just go ham or something. It does open up the possibility of an S up above it. Is the O or M even good? I think it is. Or we can go Batman. Open up a spot for an XU bomb over there, but we can also follow it up with an H. Oh, this is so tempting to do, but I just don't know. I don't think so. I would have seen it by probability, I think. Or actually, no, this works. I don't like to leave on that, but it's much safer. Let's go with it. We took too much time on that play. Okay. We're so close to something like M battle going through. Like M battle over here, but we don't have the L for it. Oh, I didn't really look at this spot properly. We might have actually had something good last turn going into that. Let's see if I have something good this turn going into that. Like, well, even just Ember or something. That might be good. Ember 41. Yeah, we're taking it. Unless there's something close to this that is better. No, we're taking it. I don't know if I had something better there last turn. With either the A or the E start. But I didn't even look at that spot. That was a big oversight. Luckily, we were still able to take it. Dr. Cliche, hoping your opponent opens with NA so you can say, orange, you glad you didn't say banana. Hey Jude may not be a word, but na certainly fits. Now, challenge? Really? Okay. So, the interesting thing about F is that Fs actually are the only letter that synergize positively when you have them duplicated. So, if we can play them off together for a good score, that would be nice. Also, KOB, I'm pretty sure does take an O or Kobo book. Or am I thinking of something else? I think it takes an O at the end. That's not going to be relevant this turn, though. I don't have anything to take advantage of that. PEC, I believe, takes an H. So if we go like this, 28, that's reasonable. I'm thinking about whether there are 5-letter extensions to this that have something to do with fish. We'll do that. Okay, we're close to something. This, I don't see a 7, but we have some things like fitation through a T. There might be some other ones as well, like anti something or other. Definitely fitation through a T if it becomes available. We should actually see the R down here. There might be something there. I have to look at this because, oh, no, hang on. I need to put up my notes. Yeah, so fitation through a T. And welcome, Ming. It was a symmetrical board for a moment, and I ruined it. Ooh, starvers. Okay. We might be able to do an F playthrough here. Let's see if I can, because that would like FAINT, faint, like that. 449. That's first choice if I can't see. Well, there's no R available to play through anymore, so this is moot. We need to make sure we don't have an 8 that ends in S first, like something with an IES ending, or... Let me just see if I recognize the 8s. I don't. I think we'll just go faint. And then that keeps me ahead. Yeah, I didn't even notice it was like this perfectly symmetrical board straight down the middle until you pointed that out. That was actually pretty funny looking. I see now that the S play to last turn was almost certainly to unduplicate as well, because then you ended up with 2 more S's from my opponent. So 3 S's down on the board now. 1 blank available still. So 1 blank, 1 S being the threats at the end of faint at the moment. And we'll see how much of that actually remains open. Given a choice, I'd probably just go Vo or something next turn. And that would still be vulnerable to an S hook afterwards, of course. We'll see what makes sense. Might even be better to... Elsewhere, Fainty. Oh yeah, Fainty is good, because Faintier is good. That's a nice hook on that, actually. Oh, wait, is Faintier good, or am I thinking Paintier? Faintier... Maybe I should check it. I think it is good. I think Faintier is fine. Yeah, but I needed to check that. It wasn't... I had a doubt for a moment there, but I was pretty sure Faintier was good. I just needed to make sure I wasn't confusing of a Paintier. Okay, let's see what we can do here. We should just get rid of the V somehow. 19, if we do that, still somewhat closed off. This is actually more closed off against a bingo as a counterplay, although it wouldn't be as closed off to a 4 coming up top. However, since I'm slightly behind, maybe we do still go with that. The other thing I can go is Evo down here, since this location down here is kind of closed anyway. I actually like to look at that. Let's do that. That keeps the score close. We're still holding a reasonably playable rack, I guess. Oh yeah, Avi's. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about the A follow-up. Avi is something that apparently means avatar in some computer game lingo that I hadn't heard about. It's a new addition to this lexicon, in fact. It was one of the words added in 2024. I think this actually does take a P in front. I don't know if rear takes anything in front as a single letter, but if we actually go something like this, I think PAVIS is the same meaning as if you have the E on the end of it. I'm pretty sure it's okay. Stacking it like crazy, the T does kind of reopen a triple, but I actually kind of like it. Let's make sure that we don't have anything that actually did go to the S on the left side. I don't think so. We're too vowel heavy in general. Let's go with that. I'm pretty sure this is good. I think it's the same as a Pavis. And it drews a challenge. That's good. Yep. So T is kind of open now. Well, we're just going to stack and stack. I might be able to do something to take that spot. before things get too wild over here. But let's see, just a little bit vowel heavy, or a little bit consonant heavy at the moment, but it's a very vowel heavy bag. More vowels than consonants in the bag currently, and so we need to be aware of that as a situation. I might just go like something like co-edit. It's a very vowel heavy bag. I don't mind keeping MNT into that. Take that for 27, and then the C closes off. Moulinet through an E, but this by itself, I don't think I see anything. Now, let's see. Yeah, how did Avi get in before Zerg, right? What justice is that? Notice both C's are already down, so we're not going to have CINQ. We don't even have enough A's to have like TALAC or something, TALIQ. No M's for... Oh, actually, I'm missing an A for Umiak. We keep UMI, I would actually be able to play to the Q. UMIAQ. I don't think that by itself is a good reason to keep the U, but we will keep that in mind. I have nothing to go right of the F right now, which is unfortunate. We might be able to parallel here. So something... Oh, hang on. There's only one A left. I don't think it's worth it to try to draw for Umiak. It's just not worth enough points to make that a good idea. I don't like how Q is down and we're keeping one U with two U's on the way. That's my concern about something like that. But I don't know that we have very many options at the moment. I also have only 5 minutes. Yeah, because this is not a bingo board at this point. We just need to score what points we can and try to even a score, I think. The thing about the M here is that it does reopen the board for an E coming out the left side. We don't currently hold an E, but there's some possibility I'll draw one. Or we could go something like nut or mutt. That's better, actually. That's still open to the E coming on the left. Nut would not be open to much, except a G for things like ing endings. Let's go with this. Then maybe we'll draw something interesting to it. We have an ing at this point, but not a 7. So yeah, currently A or E endings on the left, likelier an E if you look at the 6 unseen E's in the pool, are something that could hit on the left side. Look at how volatile the board is right now, actually. Blank J, X, Z still available with 20 in the bag, and so Gorier does in fact come down. This is not an X-bomb spot, but it is an X spot potentially. This we need to consider, because that is potentially an X spot that could come in and kill us. But let's see if I have anything that would just go there and take that. I think we might even just go like this, lug. The LO really closes off the top left corner, though. Actually, this just completely closes off the left. This just kills the board. Now we're behind slightly. This might not score enough for me to justify killing the board. Do we want to keep I or do we keep... No, D would still be... This would still be vulnerable to an X on the right side. So I think at this point we just try to kind of mitigate damage for my opponents. I have adjoin. Adjoin isn't going to go anywhere at the moment. So we should think about, I mean, you know, we can just score modest points. Do we have a join now? Yes, we do, but do I have something better? to hit the J in an even better spot. Now, what if we managed to get the O down here? Do we have anything that would hit? We have something like Dino, 29. And then we would keep the J for a bigger score. Something like add join would be 39. Keeps I by drawing to 8 in the bag, and we'd be basically trying to draw into the E, blank, the S, the Z, etc. But it does open up the triple up top. So we'd either go at join over there to draw very heavily, or we go with Dino and keep the J. I don't think we keep the J. I think we just try to score with it. Now, can I do a 5 with a J down to the D? I don't think that we can. Let's do that. It does reopen the triple up top. Actually, it puts the J in a bit of a bad spot. And yeah, I think my opponent's going to hit with like Zowie somewhere, or Wares, like W-A blank R-E-Z. That would do all kinds of damage. Yeah, actually, no, I think maybe Dino is the way to go. I didn't think about how the J is actually in a really bad spot when I'm not holding anything to follow up. And I'm actually not in great shape because the thing is I do not have tiles that can score points, and there's 2 in the bag and blank unseen, and I think I am actually going to lose this. That's interesting. So my opponent did not have the draw to take this, or rather wanted to prioritize O. Huge problem right now for us right now is that there is wins, wizen, etc. that's available with the blank, and lots of flexibility for my opponent. In fact, this is quite bad. What if we go G like this? But then I don't have... That scores 31. That actually kind of keeps pace, except where is my opponent going to score with that Z? The thing is, with the blank, they can just outpace me with the Z unless we have a clear idea in mind for what we want to do with the S. I wonder if this takes an E here. Sure, I'm just thinking of peaches. Peaches. Also, GEE is open to a Z being dumped on the end there. I don't think my opponent would do that, though, unless it's an out in 2 sequence that relies on it. So the issue right now is that I don't see where to go after this move. I don't have a follow-up play. But I have a minute to look at this, so I think we have to take this. Or we just go EE, but then my opponent would just go something here, like using the blank to hit that spot. Then no, that doesn't even score points. We have to do this, I think. Kills to triple. The issue is I do not have a follow-up. We would need to make 2 plays, unless I'm given something very miraculous. We have SUQ over here, but it's only 12. We have... So I don't know if E is good here. I guess we're in a really desperate situation. We'd try a Pesh with Dexes. That's what I'm considering. ZO over here. Yeah, so... yeah, that's 24. I think I'm going to lose. I don't see it. Yeah, so only there for 12. This is not going to score much. I have no time to look at this. I think I just have to play this. Maybe this is good. I don't know. EECH with an E at the end. Maybe it was good. Oh, maybe we should have done something over here. I'm actually just going to go over time at this point. I'm losing anyway, so... Yeah, I don't have enough time to dump this somewhere. Hang on. Yeah, I don't even have an out and 2 with this. That's ridiculous. No, yeah, I do. Okay. So we're going to lose 10 for the overtime, but I wonder if that was winnable with the situation we had. Because I feel like I probably missed something big there. So that's our second loss today. We actually have not had a win yet because the win in the record right now was just the buy that we got from the pairings error. We need to check that because, yeah, it's not there. No E on PECH. All words that did go down on the board were valid, though. Okay, so that's unfortunately a loss. We're still looking for our first win today. We do need to put this one through the analyzer for sure, I think, just given the trickiness of the ending there. So we'll get the computer to look at it and we'll scroll through that later. We can request that for all games today since I'm limited to 5, but we're only playing 5. So let's just see. Yeah, this was okay. Oh yeah, I forgot that this is good. It's a lot better actually. A hint would have gone down here. Or meant. That sounds like one of those Scottish words to me, but I could be wrong. My opponent drowns in vowels. I find ember. My opponent misses a couple of these possibilities. There's an American evergreen tree, also a casina. Casino Royale. Look at his Buna. Leaving the O in a bit of a fairly aggressive position, but you know. So Starves actually fits much better here. Possibly my opponent's not that confident in the S hook. So feign or feint, I guess, yeah, for balance purposes, I can see why. This is a hidden equity, but we'll see what happens. It would have not taken the Y at the end, which is what killed me here. Vol over here. I did talk about Kobo at some point, and I just didn't see that when it mattered. So yeah, this continues to follow up. Pectoral over here, extending the board by quite a bit and opening some space. Again, I'm just kind of keeping pace with score at this point, and we were doing reasonably with it. But my opponent's going to hold the Q into this. That's interesting. When Feek was available. Yeah, I can see why there was no play going down to the T, really, except for something like this that keeps QOR. We're just kind of scrambling for points at this point. Where was... Yeah, so the Kobo spot that I talked about early on, I just lost sight of it later on and really shouldn't have because, you know, S lane is still available on the left side here and could have mounted to something. And yeah, Goryeo is going to follow up there. Oh, look at this. But my opponent didn't see it, luckily for us. Ed join comes out best by equity, but we'll see if that was an okay play. Again, the other play I was considering was Dino down here. Keeping the J for scoring, but I was thinking, okay, there's so much good stuff in the bag. Maybe if we just keep it close, I can draw into some of that, like the Z, the S, the blank, etc. And maybe there was some possibilities there. Although I should have noticed that I could have gotten myself into an extremely vowel-heavy situation, keeping I, which would mean that I don't have enough points to work with. And so probably, given the pool being extremely vowel-heavy, perhaps the right play was to play this knowing that I had a likely scoring follow-up with a J as a constant, so we at least are guaranteed some points going into the next move. But we'll have to look at the sim to see how that works. Virim, welcome. And let's see. Yeah, round 4 is going to start in just a moment, so we'll just scroll through this quickly. We will come back to this one with the engine analysis later. Swizz down here, that's a hard one to see. So with Kobo, again, everybody missing Kobo the whole game. So I don't know if I had an out and 2 sequence. It looks like not really. But we'll have to check the computer for that. Okay, next game. I'll be going first. And finally, we'll get the matchup that we were supposed to have a few rounds ago before the problem. I don't know that there is any kind of 7 in this. I think we actually just play called and keep the S, like take some points, draw with the S. Q and U together. You know, if we are given an F, we'll go quaffers. But having the Q here with the U together is great, so we can just get rid of that problem as soon as we can. And am I playing viewers? No, I'm playing a structured event right now where everybody in this event has committed to 6 rounds within the group. So that's all we're doing today. I haven't done a playing with viewers events, partly because I stream at bad times for people to actually show up as players who are reasonably well matched. But yeah, Dr. Cliche, likely I didn't consider Scald if you mentioned that. It didn't look that good to me, but I would not know for sure either way. Okay, hone over here. Let's see if we can do something with the Q. I don't have anything to take advantage of the F on this side right now, but we can just go Quare for 53 if we don't mind having the Q in the top spot there. You get a ×4 from the Q, it gives back a ×3. That usually is okay as long as you don't have a massive triple going through it. I think we will probably go with it, but let me just do a bit of a sanity check here. I think we're doing it. Get rid of that problem, a little vowel heavy, despite keeping all consonants. And the Q spot is not something I can take this turn, so we'll see how long it remains open. We can also just kind of start to obstruct it ourselves by playing off to the right. You know, even if it's something like NAE or something there, then that kills the Q spot. Not for very many points, though. We might be able to do better. Mole. We'll leave that. It gives us an S hook that I can use later. I think, given that I'm ahead, it does make a certain amount of sense to kill the Q spot. I don't really like using my E, but this seems a little too vowel heavy to keep it. I think we will play it off. And then the RE will leave a lane to the right, but it's a lane that would give back to triple, so let's go for that. Maybe it's better to keep the E in that kind of situation, but again, 3 vowels, 2 consonants seemed a little bit much. So we'll see what happens here. We have something like fount, like that. That actually looks best currently for me. So we'll keep an eye on this spot here. We have fount, and that also has an S hook that I'm able to use. So we open up a second S lane on the right. Were we to do that? If that spot gets taken, we'll consider other possibilities. I don't know if I like that durian with an E. I'm going to check it. Unless it's an alternate spelling of the fruit with the A. I'll check it. It's no good. Opponent's keeping E-I-N-R-U. We'll try to update this on the left side. Now, given that, I don't think I'm worried about this. So we'll just take it. Yeah, so now I have two S's. And so if I can take the spot on the right, just to, even if we just play off IS or something, that's only 15. I think we can do better. But we should consider what I can do to maybe play off IWI somewhere. It's very vulnerable to K in front. That's the thing. So we don't just want to drop it in a spot like that. It might even be valuable to do it like that. And then this actually leaves me a nice lane below it. Better than, well, I mean, right now it's a nice lane for the S, but we need to manage this particular rack. I think we'll go with it. Let me just take a look here quickly to see if there's a better way to play this. No, we'll do it. Okay, so can we do anything with the J? Yeah, that spot will be taken. That's okay. I don't really have a good scoring spot with a J right now, except we can just spend my S and go either that or JTOS, depending on what I think is going to go better there. I don't think it really matters. O is maybe very marginally more defensive on the left, although we have something like the D to go down there anyway. Okay, we're close to something. It's detainee. Also, I totally wasn't watching what my opponent was playing. So Line, was gone. U is gone, so it's still holding R. So this, I don't see eights. Sorry, I don't see sevens with it. Rather, I do see detainee as an 8 if we are given an E somewhere. Like if there's an E that's played down from the T, then we have it. There are lots of 8s, I think, that will go with this, but we have to see. So, for example, andesites are an S, etc. Retained from an R. Actually, detained over here. We have it. Detained. So, Dr. Cliche, you said, years ago a roommate brought home a sealed container of durian and left it in the fridge, and the smell woke you up through your closed bedroom door. And you yelled at him. Did you yell, you misspelled it with an E. That's a challenge. Core is going to be over here. That's fine. We go detained. It is a little bit dangerous because of the triple lane. D is maybe not the worst tile to go there, but we don't want to be hit with a 200-point play through it. Nevertheless, I think we take it. The board is kind of open, very, very open. So, we could lose our lead still with 2 blanks, 2 S's unseen. Obviously, core takes the S behind it. Lots of lanes available right now. The triple is the most worrisome one, of course. But it's a very open board, and so we do need to start closing down if we can. Can I do something here with the X? I'm not sure that we can. However, oh, I'm so close to it. Look, unfortunately, there's no EY. Otherwise, I'm so close to something like X-ray over here. That's a little bit sad that we can't do it. Let's see where we can still do something like docs over here. 39. I don't like keeping the double R, but go racks over here. Let's see. Also, we need to make sure we don't miss anything good down here either. So I'm looking at either docks, 39, racks, 35. I think I like undoubling the R better. And we're still able to maybe follow up on the right side. We'll see. Let's go with it. Oh, I should have actually taken care of this side first. That was the priority. Oh, well. That's okay. Spending a blank on that, okay, fine. If you really want to. I would not recommend doing that. Let's see. We can do G here as like something GY. Like this. Obviously, rid G might be better. Rid G, like that. 38, that's more defensive. It keeps OU, but it is a constant heavy bag at the moment, so I think that'll be okay. If we have something that will get us ergo over here with our O, like something vowel O, that might be okay. Let's take it. Very close to something like waveode, except the U is in the way. Waveode is like this. And unfortunately, we're just slightly off. Because W, U, and V all together, that's not great. And that would have gone up here. Like waveode would have gone here. Also notice that between the L and the I, that's actually still an E hook. That's open to an E ending in its own right. We should not forget that. So there's a lot up top that we might want to deal with at some point. S lane off of core as well. No more blanks though. No more blanks? Oh yeah, no, because I've got one blank. And I was saying K does go behind here, but it's not going to do anything useful at that point. So unless it's being dumped there as a blocking piece, likely it's going to be vow or avow over here. Vow is pretty defensive with 0 follow up, but it keeps tons of vowels. Avow obviously would be vulnerable to something down here, but there are no tiles left in the pool that are going to hit that too badly. However, given that this is second last A, it might be to my advantage to keep it tight and just go vow. That's almost certainly going to be the first choice play. I'm pretty sure that's okay, but I'd better check it. It is good. So we go either vow or avow. Half vowels to consonants as the ratio at the moment. Keeping 3 vowels might still be a little too heavy. Like by probability would still draw 1 probably. But then we have a little bit of flexibility. Like we keep it closed, we have a bit of flexibility. I'm not really going for bingo myself at this point, even though we're holding the blank. But of course, if we do play a vow, then maybe we can draw into something that might still hit as a 7. Let's go for it. I feel like there is something here. Punitive to an E. If we're given that, like if an E dangles off a play like this, there might be, I want to see if there's a 7 in here. It looks like there's some possibility. We need to think about ing as an ending as well. Like imputing through an M. On something. Or we could just go PI. 7 in the bag. I think there's a decent probability of drawing something into that. The score lane is pretty much dead at this point. Notice that here you can still have an A connect. Oh, notice too that this would be a big spot for a B. We should not neglect that either. It might even be better to go something like uni. And that doesn't kill the area, but might restrict it a little bit. Get rid of the U. 22 that way, 24 this way. And yeah, so if we're doing this, we're kind of playing too obstruct, but then let's still consider this because I really feel like we might have something. Let's go with that. Okay, lots of stuff that we can do here. Utensil, which would actually fit, right? Yeah, it would fit. Need to check after that mishap that we had with medians last time. So we'll probably go utensil over there, but let me see if there's something better that would maybe use a blank here for C or B or something. What even goes behind Brook? There's Brook to Crooked. Let's think about it. Might be something else I'm forgetting. Realistically, I think we'll just play utensil. And then the thing I'd be most worried about is something like butt here. Let's actually map this out to make sure. I think a bingo just wins it straight up, but we actually need to think about this remote. So I think butt here might be good. And then, actually, I'm not even sure about buddy. Buddy's definitely. Buddy here, I'm not sure. But we need to consider the theory just to score it out and see, because 6, 7, 8. $36 and 17, 86 and 17. It's going to be over 100-point play and then sticks me with MV. So if we draw MV out of the bag, then that's another additional 7. That's about a 120. Yeah, no, we're way ahead enough, but I can stomach it. So let's just play utensil here. 71, and then see what happens. We draw ER, so I'm okay. In fact, there's very little that's going to happen here. I don't think the B even connects in either direction. And so this will be a pretty clear win. All right, we got 2 minutes to look for a decent out. 10 over here. 8 over here. We'll probably just take that 10, but... Oh, whoops. 7 over here. Yeah, let's just take the 10 and out. Did I have linctus and crooked? Yes, actually. I did not see linctus. So yeah, Durian was the only phony that got challenged off. Everything else is valid. I should check Butt here because that was definitely the risk there, but we would have finished ahead. No, it's just Buddies, I think. Buddies definitely is good. But okay, so that's a win. Pretty clear win. We'll check that off. Actually, our first win of the day, despite what the record says, due to the pairings issue earlier. And we will take a look at this for a moment. Let me just pull up the screen. Scald is good. Okay, so we missed Scald at the beginning. I just simply didn't know it. Luckily, I didn't take the... Well, I didn't read the chat until I made my play, luckily, but, you know. Good thing you didn't check it in the bot or something. So, yeah, Miss Scald, that is something that's also Collins only and low enough of a probability that I can understand why I wouldn't have seen it. My opponent will miss. Aquifers. As an alter spelling of aquifers? Really? Okay, yeah, it's a Collins only spelling. That's why I would not have seen it. I have not looked over all my U7s and 8s yet. That's how you know I haven't. Because aquifers in this position is just spectacular. Even though I held the eye, I don't know that I would have seen aquifers necessarily. Maybe. I've actually played it before in some other game. I think. So, yeah, my opponent is going to miss a lot. Look at that. And there were actually lots of 7s available, but been a runcible spoon. But instead, the phony went down. So, yeah, that's a terrible and unfortunate turn, I think, to not only miss the 7, but also lose the turn. And also still miss the next turn when things were still available. Because I was thinking, okay, I don't need to worry because I just saw my opponent's 4 tiles. Clearly, we can just play Fount with no issues, but... Ooh, look at this one. Luisia's. Aquifers is valid, he said. Voice all aquifer. Exactly. Yeah, I missed Luisia's, but I absolutely did not know it. What is that? Is it the same as tougher? Oh, it's Scottish tougher. Okay, and then, yeah, we were very fortunate this round that my opponent just missed all of those 7s. Disconnect the antidate, but then that doesn't spend all 7, so obviously detained was to play as long as you don't get whacked by a triple. Zagged was available here. Up gaze, using the blank, of course, but up gaze for 77 if the set landed on that spot. So I saw, oh, I didn't even look at the racks on that spot. That's way better. I was too busy thinking about this that I didn't think about it as an X once I saw Zax. So that was a bit of an issue. Ridgy, I don't think I knew Durgy with the U spelling here. Yeah, the fabled 49 Rex build. I mean, of course, right? Like, once you had multiple building selection in StarCraft 2, that's just how you play. I remember kind of in early Wings of Liberty when people realized that just going mass marine is actually really, really good because they figured out how to do things like Baneling splits and such for the first time, and basically negate the built-in obvious hard counters. Back in the Marine King meta that existed for a while. We're going to be called into the next game pretty soon, so so nothing on this rack, unfortunately. Unrip. That would have opened things up quite a bit. So we did miss Linctus over here. It's not even a high scoring one. Indults. For Drukt. I didn't know Drukt, I think. It's Scots, no wonder. So let's click ready for the next game, and we'll see. I'll request a computer for this one anyway, although it's not as critical to look over this one. Let's get into the next one. Okay. We'll be playing second. Have a bit of an awkward situation with a double R over here and the G, but we'll see what we can do. Hope over here. I think we'll probably just... Well, first of all, let's see if we have something through to E. I don't think so, but it is something I should look at. If not, we'll probably just play off something that sheds to G for now. Even if it's, not really that... Oh, no RO. Hang on. Even if it's just a small 13 points, we'll just manage to rack a little bit. CIRS is not too bad. Okay, this is close to something spicier. We have it. This will almost certainly go down. There are so many spots for it. It's just a matter of whether it goes down in a good location. Spicier will... Actually, Hoper might be good. What do you think of Hoper? Someone who hopes. I mean, Spicier also goes here. That's a really dangerous location. I'll try it. I can't imagine Hoper's not good. What else would you call someone who hopes, other than hopeful or something? Okay, so CH is a possibility. We need to not forget about that with our H. We also might just go with John or John somewhere. ORA, I think, only takes the L and a D. It does not take an S in the back. So we'll see what happens here. Okay, 2 tiles there. Definitely trying to set up for something, maybe. This, I'd be worried about maybe something taking that O spot. That's a thing that might not score well enough to be worthwhile. We'll see if we have a better way to do that. I mean, OH here would be 21. That's a terrible leave, though. We wouldn't do it. Maybe just in the interest of getting some turnover going and keeping EV, and we do play this. So yeah, because we have like A consonant or O consonant endings there, that might be worrisome. That's my reluctance to play that. But I don't know that we have much else that we can do here. So I think we just go with that and just play it off. Do I have something? I actually have evade over here. Evade will be first choice, I'm sure. Although it's a pretty obvious place to take, so I don't expect that to stay open, but evade for 52 is the first choice play. We're so close to doing something here, except it doesn't quite go. What do we think of something like Eved? I'm not sure. But if it stays open, then we'll take it. I'm kind of reading the 2-tile play last turn as trying to set up for something like a bingo, which might mean that it's not close to a rack that could hit this too hard. That if he's trying to set up for a big comeback play, then he might not be keeping the kind of tiles that would punish this play as badly as normal. Q is going to go down there. We, of course, should consider whether we want to take it now. Given that leave, I think we just take evade. And we still have an I that we're keeping for the Q. And then we'll see if the Q spot remains open for our I. Not that I have very many good things to go there, except FIE, GIE. FIE, Phi here will probably be first choice, unless we'd rather shed the G, depending on which spots we have open. The I in this position down here obviously kind of favors maybe trying to do something with the F, but the possibilities are not great. Okay, Quate. We'll go down, and then that will kill some of the ideas that we had in mind. Let's see if we can do something here, like even just fire to close up the spots. Close it up. Viragine through an R. But we don't have an R for it right now. Ooh, look at that Z there. Nice placement for 49 points. Wow. If I can do something with the G here. And I don't think we can. Something GE. Unfortunately, I do not think we actually have a way to play that. We can go something like Vig over here. 42, that's not bad. That's not bad at all, actually, in terms of dumping to V. Bitval heavy on my end. We should also do one last sanity check to make sure we don't have another 8 with this, like through a tile like the S on the left side. You'd be shocked if Eve weren't good. Yeah. It's one of those things where, Scrabble vision throws you off sometimes. Now, of course, this does open up hooks on the right side, A or S. So that's a bit of a risk, but I think we take the points at this point, and then it does get rid of the G for the idea we had to follow up the Z up top, but I think we still take it. It looks way too good. And I have the A to follow up. Wow, Enamored's going to go down. Okay, that's fine. I don't like the E placement for that abode. So that is actually going to make up most of the difference there. So yeah, had we found a way to play to the E on the top right, like that would have closed it off a bit, because, Enamored would still go down, but it would go down in a worse spot. But, well, I mean, that's just a very good rack in general, so sometimes you just have to deal with it. So let me see. I just saw my opponent draw 7, 2 blanks, 2 S's, 2 A's. So basically, how urgent is it for me to take this? Now, most heavy consonants are gone. So basically, the worst thing that could hit us here. Going down is Y or W, which would still hit pretty hard. That would still be, I don't know, 50-point play or something. But that does manage to rack and draw into the bag and score. If we're worried about bingo risk, Adobe would be better. In terms of B being slightly more restrictive, let's think about this. Though we can also just go BE over here and keep the A open on the right side and take the risk of trying to draw into it. Let's do it. And ooh, Blowsier. Okay, so we're getting blown out by the Blowsier here. Let me make sure I don't have something off of my current rack that's going to be a 7. We don't really have much for playing off an 8. Okay. Something like this still reopens on the right side. I don't really want to play off the E. We kind of want to keep it. Then what if we go road or something? 28, and then that's still kind of open on the right side. It does spend my A that I was holding for Vega on the right. That's the concern. But if I'm playing to the L, I don't really have much of a choice. Like, I only have E or A going to the L, and one of those will have to be spent. Also, this spot here. Door. Okay, you know what? Door for 30. The upper triple spot will probably be taken, but this time, this way, we retain lanes on both sides, and we have the A on the right side. Let's do that. And I'm still behind. Yeah, so something was going to hit there. I didn't expect it to stay open. We should still retain A for the right side lane. Let's see if we can do something else to get out of trouble. Maybe open up down here. If we can find a good way to do it. Teal, keeping LEN. I don't know about that. No, we don't want to spend the A that way. How about tell? Keeping A and E still. A and E is reasonably strong, I think. 4 T's in the pool. Yeah, we want to play out that T. Let's go with that. Okay, that's got to be something. Hang on. Let's not miss. Oh, am I serious? Going to miss this turn? Too many duplications. This is a very critical turn, and I feel like I'm going to miss. Extremely critical turn, and I feel like we actually do have to duplicate an S. You think I had a bingo there in the previous turn? We'll take a look at that later. Yeah, you were saying that a few minutes ago. You'd be shocked. Oh, a few turns ago, yeah. With the door turn, or that's okay. We'll look at it later. I probably did miss something. Did I miss beaconed earlier? Okay, I didn't even see a spot for that. Anyway, let's figure this out. I don't see a 7 in there. There's too many duplications, but I don't know what to play off as my second choice play. Like, I'm tempted to just fish one, but then again, the double S is still in the way if we do that, so maybe even just play off the AS for 17. And then that really shows what I'm sitting on. If I can play off NS in a reasonable way, I would like to do so, but yeah, this is 15 here. Let's go 17 with the S. 2 blanks still unseen. Like, it's so volatile here. Let's just do it. Tenants. It will go, probably. We have 2 spots. Tenants here. Tenants here. I guess we have to take the other one. And then there's double blank available. We could still get something on the right side after this. Xylem, not that it's going to go anywhere. Too bad it's not going to go somewhere like here. That would have been quite the hit if so. You know what would be funny is if you did a setup that's the YLEM setting up an X. I don't think that's going to have... Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no, so close. Just no TM. So close. However, Oxy will go there for 61 if it remains available. And regardless, the X-bomb spot is going to be open for me unless it's stomped on. And so it depends on what my opponent thinks is a bigger risk with 1 tile left in the bag. And he's holding double blank, so there's some possibility that he's just going to hit, right? So this is a tough situation because we're 7 points apart. He's almost certainly holding double blank. And is heavily incentivized to fish 1 to try to play onto the right side. But we have a big play down here. But the thing is, if he does a fish 1, we have to figure out with a double blank in 3 minutes if he's threatening a bingo to the right. If so, then we actually cannot take the X play. We have to save it. Then we have to look for a second choice. Now, second choice would be something like an X play up here. So, for example, locks up here would be 41. Something like what the Oxy play that I saw down here would be 61. And it also, of course, depends on what we want to keep. Because YUME, not very full of potential. This would keep Mule. But we would need to think about if it's a fish 1, what do we even do about the right side? I don't know that we have something that can deal with the right side. That would be unblockable for me, and so we'll see, because with double blank, very likely he's going to hit something there, even with an S start or an A start. And the only thing I can think of is if we obstruct. And still obstruct in a way that might still present a triple risk or just open up more lanes. So this might be a tough situation. I mean, for all I know, it's blank last tile in the bag. And if blank is last, then he might have to decide, do we fish off Y, fish off I, or block something else that I have going on. Now, he should be able to see from the current pool that even if it is a blank in the bag, I am actually not threatening very much. This is what I'm threatening most. But then can he deal with that in a reasonable way that doesn't give me something huge? If blank is in a bag, he has a bingo. True. Bingo, draw one. Uh, let me see. It's like saintly, right? Are you thinking of something? Well, no, with two eyes. Never mind. Or inanity or something, or well, something starting with S or A. Fish one. Okay. Well, for sure he's got something on the right side, right? So we. And I can't deal with it. Like, if we go limey, then he'd still be able to. Limey won't have any back hooks. Now, almost certainly that's going to be a block here. And of course, there's a possibility that you might just get some crazy overlap because of NY being a possibility. And I don't have enough time to actually stretch out the possibilities. There are also the possibilities of something like this going through likely to M. Let's clear this for a moment. Like with an MIT Y ending. For sure, I need to block, though, because we see the bingos, and I will lose to any of them. Now, the thing is, if he doesn't have the bingo, then we go locks here or locks here. Likely that'll get blocked. Now, that's assuming that there isn't a play for him, because I think there will be a play for him. But either way, I would threaten a decent number of points. 41 up here. 53 down here. Okay. Do we want to do that? And because then double Y might. Now, the problem with that is that I would definitely be. So I would score slightly more points for that. But then, no, I can't leave the E there. The E would definitely prevent something. I think. I can't see this with double blank. I absolutely can't see it. So we give up 5 over here. Xylem for 53. Well, that won't do it. I'll lose to bingo. But if we do literally anything else, I'll lose, I think. I don't know. We have to hope that he doesn't see a 3DM. There probably is something. It's double blank. And he's got 7 minutes to look at this. He's going to find something. Yeah, Dr. Clichet was definitely remembering that Alinity was the name of a streamer. Okay, I didn't see it. Okay, fine. Yeah, we'll pass it. So yeah, I think I don't know if there's a theoretical block. I mean, maybe the best play is just to play the equity play and just play off the X and close up spread. But I was trying to see if we had some kind of theoretical win there, and it's very hard to work that out. So yeah, if Y was last in the bag, then he might have lost. But I had so many scoring possibilities with the X, but the tempo was just off. Anyway, this one we'll have to look at as well. So yeah, we only really won one game today then. And so, oh no, we have one more to go. We have one more round to go, I think. So we'll definitely look at that. Yeah, obviously, if it's a losing situation, the best play is just to play off the X for 60 points, but I could not see how to win that one. We'll absolutely have to look at the endgame analyzer for this one as well. It's too critical. And we'll see, because the equity table will not tell us what to do in the endgame. However, we can walk through some of the plays. I'm actually going to be pulling the next round right away, so no, we won't walk through the plays until later. But we'll look through the game for sure, because this ending needs a bit of thought. You want to see his rack at the end? Yeah. This was the rack here. So he was holding the alinity rack. And actually, anility, amenity, intimacy. But the thing is, so the way he's looking at this, though, is that he needs to make sure that he doesn't draw one and then still. I don't think he'd get caught by something like an X play, but he'd definitely be thinking, you know, if you're opening up the eye in the triple spot here, is the X going to hit in some kind of big way? It's not, we know that, but, you know, like I don't have a Xenon or something that would fit there, even though I'm very close. But yeah, there are definitely some issues. Okay, so let's go to the next game. We'll look at that one carefully later for sure, because that was an interesting ending. I feel like every single one of my games with him is interesting. All right, so I don't think I have a way to hit the Z in one of the big spots. We could go zit and open up the eye for myself, or just go zip and, or even just fizz. Is fizz? That looks okay. 36. I think it's good. Let's do that. And then, yeah, Zed's going to give back some points. We don't really have a good way to deal with it. Maybe ally. And we need to make sure I don't have something that could have actually. We partially have partially, but we don't quite have it. We actually. Oh, we don't have artillery either, because that's also 9. I think we have to just keep this spot, or kill this spot rather. Actually, why don't we parallel it like this? Or even drop an additional one for rally or tally. Let's go with that. We actually should have shed one more, but oh well. Remitted through an E if E is given to me. We'll see if that becomes a problem. Yeah, there was no counter bingo, and so he would have been able to outrun. The threat would have been if there was some kind of big X play to hit parallel to the eye, and there wasn't, looking at the pool. I mean, I had so many X plays on the board that were 50 to 60 points, but none of them catched bingo, and I have no way to outpace a one-tile draw. And the board is so open, I don't think he gets stuck with any draw in that situation. But I think the situation was that looking at double blank, even great players miss bingos with double blanks because it's just so hard to visualize. We should do something up top here. I said we had remitted through an E. Let me make sure I don't have anything through the O. If I can just go, maybe just trot or something. Oh, hang on. I don't have an O. Hang on. Trim. Just trim. 36. That looks great, actually. We have expats. No real spots where that would be relevant. Did I miss paltrily? Oh, from the P, yeah. I did miss paltrily. That's a hard one to visualize. It's 5-point challenge. Of course you should challenge paltrily. That was a very hard one to visualize. So we'll see what we can do here. Obviously, AY will take an E in the end if we have a way we want to deal with it, like an FE start. You know, something like a Fed. Well, that's, yeah. Anything we do there doesn't look like it'll give us a very synergistic leave, so. And something like that would look better. I don't think I placed the X on top like that. So deft is looking okay in that position, but we'll see what I am given. Also, no, hang on. We have XPath. No, we don't. It doesn't fit there because of the Y. However, we should see if... I think Paxed might be good, but no longer relevant. So, also, BAW does take a D at the end. But the problem with that is I think it also takes an S after that. So I do not believe we can do anything with it. BAY takes definitely a T. I don't know if it takes an E as an anagram of ABYE. This is a Collins thing that I should remember from having looked at it. BAYE. BAYT, definitely. BAYE. I cannot remember. Maybe we just try it. BAYT, definitely good, but yeah, this still... We'll try it. We'll try it. I might be wrong. BAYE. It might be a Collins only, but definitely ABYE is in there. I just can't remember if this is also in there. At least I don't know for sure. It looks good, but I can be wrong. I didn't really have a good play with the T start there. Anyway, we'll see what happens. We've got reasonable balance on the rack. Maybe it was... Okay. Yeah, that's got to be good. Now, do I have a reasonable follow-up down below the F? Not sure I do. Worst case, if we're ever close to something, we'll just play off the X. I don't think I'll do a fish one like that this turn, of course, but... We'll see. Unfortunately, plays here are no longer really available. I mean, we can go something like ENG if we don't mind playing off the E. That's only 15. That's terrible. We can actually just go Vax. Or even Vox. Vox would be better, I think. Doesn't score very much with that X, but it gets us out of some trouble, perhaps. Or do we just want to sacrifice the points since I'm ahead? And keep the X for a better spot. There aren't really that many possibilities on the board right now. I think we just take it. It'll give back some points, perhaps. Okay, so ING ending, but we won't have anything to take advantage of it just yet. Did I miss something big? Oh, you think that VOG would have been better? Yeah, because I guess I could have done a decent follow-up. But the thing is, Vox kind of continues to close up. No S-hook on it, right? So... Oh, because I set up the X for... Yeah, I totally missed that spot. Yeah, whoops. Whoops. Okay, well, we'll just have to take a... Okay, so bod is going to go... The Y is so threatening there. Yeah. I just failed to visualize the X setup. I mean, at this point, we can just go PW here. 39. There's some consolation. Let me make sure I don't have something much better. By the way, easeled, I think, also takes a T in front. Teaseled. Weaseled. We actually have weaseled. Is this correct? GAWP. I have to think about this. Maybe just for safety, we just go something like pawn, even though I don't like keeping the G. I don't know if I'm confusing this with something else like Gawk or God or something. I might be confusing it with something else. I think I'd rather... Let's go pawn. Gawp is good. Okay. I had to think about that for a moment. It scored the same. It would have been better, obviously, to keep the N rather than the G. Yeah, so the thing about Scrabble is that when you're actually in the middle of playing, you start doubting things that seem ordinarily absolutely confident. Hartons with his spelling is definitely good. I've seen it quite often. Let's see what we can do with the Q situation here. Or we just go Boar over here for 21 and continue playing short. I feel like this is going to be a race to get to the bod spot. It is so threatening right now. It's so volatile. Maybe we should shed the Q, though. We have a Q spot just over here. I don't like playing so few tiles, though, when like there's clearly something to race towards. But we also don't have other possibilities with Q, unless we kind of play a long word keeping the Q, and then at least we have a way to get rid of it. Don't really even have a good place to deal with that. Let's go. Okay, you know what? We still have the queue open. Let's go with this. And then, oh, okay, it was taken. 60 points. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to successfully race for that anyway. I didn't have a good way to block it either because, you know, even something like an R on this area would have still been vulnerable to a Y going down towards it, so. It's okay, we're still ahead, marginally. This is actually a good Q-fish moment. And then regimes. I think there's something else in regimes as well. But I have to think about that. Regimes will fit. It fits over hardens. It doesn't really fit over anything else. It still fits. Regimes in this spot. I mean, I see no reason not to take it. I think we just do it. A little bit vowel heavy right now, but we're close to some things. Challenge regimes, okay. Yeah, the play over here over the X actually totally closed off that area as well. That's still going to be a little dangerous with the A, which I have over the T. Now, there's one blank available, but I have the A's to take that spot, so we don't necessarily need to shut it down right away. We should, however, see if I have a way. This is tempting. I don't know if I want to keep AIA though. I mean, but we only have one consonant, so we kind of need to do something. I don't really want to play off both of those E's, but what do we do? Let's see if I have a good alternative to that. I mean, I guess, we keep going for some points here. Could be worse. I would ideally like to shed some vowels instead, though. Even if it's something like... Well, we don't want to play off both A's, so we want them for the spot up top, but... Let's take the points. Why not? Maybe we could have gone KEA or something over here. We were very close to Abwado, Abwato. We would need something to play through, though, for that. I don't think we have anything that would go through the N to make that work. We were actually... Yeah, we're just way too heavy on everything. This would shut down the bingo lane and keep 2 A's. We don't want to do that, but we could do a UE or a U A, although that again kills the A idea up top. 8 in the bag. We'll think about this. Outa over here. I actually don't mind that. I mean, it still leaves the 7 lane up top for an A start for me if I want to take it. I just rack a bit. Nothing will hit the O too hard. Or we could go auto, depending on... No, this is better because it's not vulnerable to F. And then we'll have stuff like arc sign up top. Let's see if it's better to take the bottom, though. So we have arsenic, arc sign... Maybe we have something else up top as well. But we should probably take the fading spot instead. We have like a something E ending. A something ES. I mean, this should be an easy rack to work with. It's the... like, what, Christy, Racist, IEST, Styric. Surely we can see something decent there. Arc sign, arsenic, just something else, Carnies, NIES. We don't need to be too... I'm trying to find a good parallel that hit under D, and I actually don't really see it right now, but we have an INE, IASE ending. This is such an easy rack to play. Like, what are we doing here? Arsenic, arc sign. CIES. Just go Darcy's. Like that. That'll hit decently. I think Darcy's, Cardi's are both good in Collins. And that's actually going to be an outplay. Like, so maybe that was best. Okay, we'll win it. I don't know if we had a better one there. We should have had a better overlap that hits the D with that blank, but we're burning time. And yeah, the thing is that unlike in Skyward Sword, FI is not going to go here. Anyway, that's the last game today. We only played 5 because of the pairing error earlier, so one of our wins was bogus, but it will look like we finished on 3 and 3. It was actually 2 and 3 on the day. Let's take a quick look. we'll request everything on the analyzer, but some games are more interesting to scan over than others. And yeah, we'll just look at the moves for this one quickly in case there was anything interesting. I will probably not really step through it in detail. We want to look at the close games. So yeah, Fizz in various spots. Paltrily, that was a miss. We talked about earlier. Trim goes there. So where was the expat spot? We were talking about expat. Yeah, so BAYE is good. That looks dangerous. I think we would have kept that anyway, even though I didn't wind up using the X well, missing the massive setup. Easel goes. So yeah, GOP is going to do best by equity and is almost certainly just the best play straight up. I just could not remember it off the top of my head. You're saying nothing that hits the C on a double and reaches the D. Yeah. So we'll see what's highest scoring there since we just needed to play for score. So yeah, shedding the Q is best in terms of equity, but of course we saw the racing for the Y situation here, and that was absolutely going to be in consideration. Divine keeping J, interesting. I mean, nothing would have blocked what I have if you're going with that position instead of going jived up top for far fewer points. So, oh yeah, Emigres is there, and Remiges, which is related to Remix. Okay. Remix. And let's keep going. I missed Fakey down here. I wouldn't have played that in that position. No way. He scores pretty well. So we were considering, I wouldn't have blocked my A lane up top. I kind of wanted to keep that given how close we were to something. But my opponent misses Fundies. Ooh, I forgot about the U hook on top of TE actually, even though it's a fairly obvious one. I just didn't think about U as a bingo tile in that position. Or even the C start over UR. We actually probably had a lot that just went parallel over there. That could have scored more than going bottom. But anyway, Fadings will go. Fadings had a better spot up here, but of course my opponent actually missed that. I would have been able to counter bingo out of that anyway. So Saracen is the optimal one, 93 points. So a 4-point increase on what we had, but, you know, we're only going to spend so much time on that. Yeah, you saw Viscera for 92. That is one of the 92 plays available there. And that's it for that. So, yeah, Fakey, well, again, it's only best by the equity table. If you saw Fakey in the spot where funds went down, I would assume that on the sim it comes out quite badly. It opens up too much losing risk in a situation where you're ahead by this much. Okay, let's take a look at the standings quickly, and we'll back up through some of the earlier games. But that will be it for the live games today. So just give me a moment while we get back to the tournament page and see how things happened. And yeah, let me check what's going on with the tournament chat. Anyway, this is how things ended up. We got a free win from Dubai, obviously, and they would have preferred to just play the game, but unfortunately, it was just throwing off the tournament too much, and at least we had a chance to look through round one in great detail. So we played round 1, 3, 5, and 6. 3 was this one where we did want to look at the ending. 4, we kind of blew out. So we'll look at 3 and 5. Because 5 we really want to study as well. So for this one here, Let me make sure I get the full screen up and running. We have a quartile for my opponent's laptop. Oh yeah, this was the symmetrical game. And then, yeah, this I just forgot about, BOAK. Again, this one is one where we wanted to look at the ending closely to see what sequence was available. Bot here, keeping all that stuff. Turns out surprisingly nicely, although again, yeah, 50% bingo range out of that, about an average 60 next turn-ish. What did we actually play? It was bat, which actually comes out quite a bit worse, I guess, from the leave that we have there. So, yeah. So, Ember kind of plays itself. That was a bingo miss on my opponent's part, but at least we got the symmetry going. This turned out worse than playing off. Go find a left. That's interesting. I guess we were still a little bit beyond everything up here. Interesting. They score the same points. It's just that FAN comes out so far ahead. I guess it's because the opponent's average turn goes down quite a bit. So opponent's bingo chance is much higher next turn after FOH. And opponent's average score is also higher after that. So like basically I think this one is just in terms of what it was giving back in the position. Probably because the FOH opening up lanes on the right side. But the score was pretty even at that point, so I don't know. Hard call. So yeah, Starvers instead of Stars was a 20-point sacrifice for nothing back, so that explains itself as well. Zigzy, you were saying you had a crazy bingo miss the other day, and your opponent visited but did not block the crazy Varicized. It has a double-double for 138, and then Valorize was also available. Wow. That sounds like a game. So, okay, Feint is best here, despite the equity table telling me about Feint earlier. Feint did give back Feinty, and it does get taken. Evo over Vo in the same position. Oh, yeah. No, same points, so why? Because of the A hook over VIS, which we do get punished by, actually. That's definitely why. That's absolutely the rationale for that, I think. Because if you look at the opponent's score over here, when we went Evo, yeah, opponent kind of has slightly higher average on that turn, and then we did get punished by that. We did on this turn, really, I guess because drawing into this with the S open on the left side and the D open on the right side do so well, and the lane up here as well, potentially. I wouldn't have considered just fishing one off there, especially when we were about 30 points behind. I was trying to keep pace. But apparently it does work out well. Let's see what else is going on here. Yeah, so best play also keeps the Q. Look at that. Because I guess FIQH is still recognized as being available, and lots of things can happen. So co-edit was considered a medium mistake. Again, we saw the Kobo spot early in the game, and we just completely lost sight of it for the rest, and nobody ended up taking it. But I was concerned about the triple spot, even though not too much will link over to the IT, I guess. I mean, quit with a draw of one of the three U's would have gone there, but the Q could be worse. So I did, well, no, we, again, lost sight of the Kobo spot and made a lot of suboptimal plays because of that. So this is a huge mistake from what we're seeing here. I was thinking we'll go really defensive. We'll close off the left side while we have so much volatility still available. But this is favored. That's interesting. OO does open up the Z spot on the left, potentially. Really, that much of a difference? Like an 8% win percentage difference. Where's that coming from? Because I played Lug. It's doing this based on my bingo chances next turn, but where's that even going? Oh, because this sets up the ing ending on the left. That's why. That's why it's seeing a 30% bingo for me and a higher point percentage as well. It's not even going to mind that it's a constant and heavy lead, because basically you draw into a vowel heavy pool with this, and then there's a good chance that you actually do hit. Even if you don't hit a bingo there, you might still be able to play off the J or the Z with an ing ending that you set up for yourself. Of course, it's still available in the pool for the opponent as well at that point, so it's a bit risky. Well, that must be where that's coming from. Such a huge percentage difference, though, from doing that. I mean, so this is considered a large mistake because, yeah, because that missed essentially a nearly guaranteed win. The join is considered a large mistake. I did not see this possibility. I was trying to link to the O. Yeah, but I understand why that happened here. That we greedily kind of played off to J, hoping to draw into the bag. What I should have seen is a vowel heavy bag is a very low point bag apart from the Z, and that I was likely to get myself into a situation where we simply cannot score. And so we should have taken some points without the J first and kept the J in reserve so we could actually follow up with a proper score. So yeah, huge problem here. And I also gave back a much higher average score for my opponent on that turn. Yeah, the thing is, there aren't that many 4-vowel 5-letter words. It is worth it to learn all of them. This is an anagram of oidia as well, O-I-D-I-A. Both extremely important to know. But yeah, as far as the 5-letter words go, the ones with 4 vowels are a super important list. Now, yeah, I see what's going on here. It's a really close game, and I'm giving back way too many points for that. And if I look at the future turns here, my average score drops off dramatically. So you see here, fly 4. I've got my next 2 turns kind of averaging 38-ish, 24-ish. Look at it down here, averaging 38-ish on the first turn, but then you have no follow-up. Average like 12 points after that. And so, while my opponent is still able to kind of keep pace. And so, after a join, basically we just run out of steam, unless we draw to Z, which we can't count on. So, I can see why we impulsively made a bit of a bad decision there, especially with no way to follow up on the J next to the double as well, which is something I only paid attention to after I laid the play on the board. So, okay, look at this, missing a nearly guaranteed win here again with even just a 12-point difference in score on my opponent's part. At least we found what is supposedly optimal, but I think it's kind of nearly expecting to be a loss at this point. Because knowing that my opponent has the W and Z available, we cannot keep pace. Even with suboptimal play over here, nobody's blowing it really. So yeah, adjoin is kind of like a critically bad play here, I think, given that situation. And that was what we suspected when we looked over it briefly earlier, but it looks like that's when it falls apart. And we went slightly over time, but I did find the outs at the end. So, tricky. Let's look at the other close one. I did request them all today on a computer, but we'll just go back to round 5. And yeah, let's take a look, because this was the ending here where I think I had no options. And that's even with my opponent missing the bingo. That would have won it anyway. So that was just a losing situation straight up. But let's look over the plays first of all. I didn't actually step through. Oh, yeah, we did. We saw the alinity stuff at the end when we zipped through it quickly. So let's get over to the sim. And looking at this, what even happened here? So I think I just didn't see Orgic, Orgiac, Orgiastic too, probably. Orgic, I guess, for an orgy. So that would have been better here, keeping the RS. Does it actually take anything behind? I don't know. Doesn't seem so, but yeah, I can see why he plays on the right side here. We see Spicier. It's the only play other than Spicier in the other position. But Hopper, we estimated, was definitely good, and so that was fine. I didn't see the Joe's position here. Oh, okay, that's so much better. Keeping HVN, but still worth it for the points. And for just killing off that spot. Yeah, because Johns does risk giving back too much next to the J, I guess. Because the opponent average is quite a bit higher. And that does open up a little too much space with the O floating there. I get paranoid about keeping the V with other consonants. QI there as opposed to QI here, which I guess keeps things open because it doesn't obstruct the full lane or the lane down the right side column. You know, it looks risky to put the Q there and invite some kind of counterplay, but who knows? Anyway, evade naturally goes down. And he's going to try to create some space. So what did I miss here? I saw fire, but I did not see rife down below. Interesting. I wonder why. Yeah, that's a turn that I think we have to think about. I guess, again, yeah, it's because it's a little more defensive in terms of the opponent counterplay, as we saw with a Z coming in up top afterwards. This was actually considered a large mistake to not also play Octi. Oh, I see, because it was available down here and he just kind of jumped on the top spot too early. And then allowed my follow-up there as well. So yeah, that's why it's kind of a huge miss there. We got away with that. And I guess one of the reasons why Fire performs so much worse than Rife is specifically because of that, with both the Z and the X available. And even some smaller tiles like, the W and so on, a lot can punish that spot, and Z most of all, and luckily that was missed. I forgot about Vigo. Oh, that's such a nicer leave, actually. No wonder that performs so much better. Enamored will go down, of course. Then BE or BO. Yeah, I overvalued this leave when it's actually better to keep the double E, I guess. Yeah, Vigo is an Australian veggie, it seems. As I'm sure the Australians in the room can corroborate. Lozier goes down, and it's amazing. It's a blowout play. So I go with Dora over here. ARE is a much better leave. I actually didn't think about doing there. But it's significantly better. N is more awkward to bingo with than you might think, actually. Like, it's a tile that I tend to overvalue. And that's something that has come up in a lot of sims that I've looked at. That's that I'm often overvaluing the N relative to the other 1-point consonants when it comes to bingo racks. So Claw a win up here. Well, yeah, look at that leave. That's amazing. But I think he's trying to basically lock down the spot at this point, which is totally reasonable. So the plays are relatively close. Tellin rather than Tell. What is Tellin? It does take an S. So yeah, because I have to kind of keep it open at this point, this is actually drawing aggressively into a double blank bag. But anyway, it's the ending where this gets really interesting. So there's Dunite on this, but Dunite doesn't go anywhere. Dunnite. And so this S play over here is a large mistake, in spite of the fact that the fish actually works out. NAS with Fava here. I guess I was reluctant to get rid of the A for the A spot on the right side lane, but actually with the Tell down below dangling such a big S lane and Claw still leaving an S lane, just going for the best possible bingo rack is preferred. So for example, over here, 56% jabs because it doesn't double the N. Actually, no, I still have a very high bingo chance coming out of that, but it might be a bit of a tempo issue, actually. We get into that one in a bag situation partly because I am fishing one with 12 in a bag. Because I fish one with 12 in a bag, you get 11 in a bag. Then he's obviously, well, I don't know, but you can kind of see, actually I don't see. It's because the points are much better, actually. It's because the game is close enough that if I'm going for bingo, I still need some points to make up the difference. And the NAS does score the extra 12 points, and it might wind up mattering quite a great deal when you're still getting a good 60% bingo draw. Of course, that's assuming an even bag, and from inference, we kind of know that when you see two late double blanks like this, you kind of have to assume your opponent is keeping at least one, that, the bag is, in these situations, typically worse for you than you think it is. Zigzy, we're saying you just say veggie for vegetarians. It uses more tiles. Yeah, so that's the thing, is that the S start, S being the most common starting tile for bingos, has more potential there than the A. So we don't need to hold on to the A quite that desperately, especially because we have trailing S over here. We have S anywhere under tell. Like, just trying to bingo as well as possible. The S is better. The double N is obviously not great. We actually did have a higher bingo draw percentage playing this, but we still needed to take the points, right? Like we're partly in the endgame situation that we were in because of insufficient points to defend. And I think it's partly a tempo issue too. Like, I think we're kind of looking at a tempo issue with, both players setting up the bingo with as few tiles in the bag as there are. So anyway, Tenants and Tannist would have gone there. So it's a large mistake here because, he gets a guaranteed win off basically any bingo, plus even these plays are guaranteed because I guess with one tile, it's seeing that it has enough of an out that I will not have anything that can deal with this. This also kills off the X play down below. That's why it does that well with the 100% win percentage. It wins with every draw. And it would definitely be at least partly because it's killing off the X lining over there. So yeah, I don't think I have any kind of block. Oxymel. That doesn't win though. There's no way that wins. Because we'd still be giving up the bingo for something simple like Saintly on the right side. So basically, at this point, we kind of have to accept that we lose and we have to play the best equity play we can. The best that I saw was kind of Oxy down below here, down below Tenants. But from playing off more tiles, Oxymel comes out ahead. But essentially, I have lost at that point, just given the draw over there. Now, given the way that the double blank shook out, like maybe I just do not have any kind of win. And perhaps the thing that I needed to do was play in such a way that I could prioritize the right side lane to hit the score on a triple, try to draw towards an S start bingo on the right, perhaps. And there is a bit of a timing issue that changes there too, just given the pace of the bag. Like that might be why we get into trouble with playing off one. But, well, I mean, the way the draws shook out, I think I just can't win. What is it even saying as the losing draw here, though? It's seeing lose with a Y draw. Yeah, actually, my opponent did talk about that in chat afterwards, that a Y draw kills off bingos, and then I managed to get a big X play down, and then I should win. So, yeah, it was quite possible for that to go badly. He was thinking that he'd lose with the O as well, but that doesn't turn out to be the case. But again, really hard to see with double blank. As you can see, he missed a bingo on this turn, and that would have just outright won. And again, everybody struggles with double blank, especially because of what a drain on time it is. Yeah, Oxymel goes there. I was looking at Xylem. We'll look at the equity table afterwards on that turn to kind of see. Oh, you can actually click to the static analyzer. We'll do that later. Let's see. Yeah, the M doesn't block anything. I kind of suspected it would hit, but with my opponent having 7 minutes to look at this, he was going to find something. So we should have just accepted the loss and just gone for a spread at that point, I guess. But under time pressure, I wanted to try something. Let me see if we can go back to the static analyzer on the last player here with Oxymel. So yeah, Xylem is second best there. Oxy is also the same. It's both going to be a plus 39. But they are going to be losing plays. Why did he not bingo? Because with double blank, he might just have not seen it. Like, obviously, the first thing you look at with something like this would be the ITY ending. But this is not easy to see. I mean, I think a lot of players, if they are just working with, say, one blank or something, they would still see something like anility on the right. Especially if you remember that's the anagram of the streamer alinity that was mentioned earlier. Yeah, you would think that you'd kind of automatically assume that one of those would be A or S because that's all that's going to fit. But yeah, when he's fishing one like that, that's kind of telling me that he just missed. But that he also probably saw that I practically have no way to block it. But yeah, it is true that you could lose to the wide draw there, and that was absolutely a problem. Because yeah, you actually do restrict the search space quite a bit if you just start with assuming the A or the S. But anyway, that was still a losing situation for us here. So wow, the stream went by really quickly today. Partly, I think, because of the one game that we did not wind up playing. So I can look quickly at the ones that we didn't actually see since I haven't been on very long. Let's go back to those quickly. So it's rounds 4 and 6. I don't think we'll see anything that interesting necessarily with those, but because we were just very clearly winning, but maybe we'll see something spectacular. Who knows? Let me just go back. Yeah, I wasn't that interested in looking at my wins today. That's the losses that are more fun to step through. Oh yeah, this was the game where my opponent just missed everything, like missed sevens all over the place. And also had the huge phony turn with Durian. So yeah, I didn't know Scald. So obviously, a massive problem for us there. The opponent misses. I didn't know Aquifers with the A because that's Collins only as a variant of Aquifers. So again, massive mistake just from not knowing that stuff. Fauna is favored over here. Doesn't totally close off the Q. It's still vulnerable to QATS or whatever, but keeping the E obviously performs quite a bit better. This scores well as well. I was trying to look for an F play there, I think, but we just, for some reason, didn't see it. And this was the challenge off. So obviously a huge problem. WOF over there, interesting. But of course, I'm playing partly on having seen what my opponent's holding and thinking this wasn't too much of a risk, although, of course, I didn't know that this was actually a fantastic rack. I simply didn't know this one. This game was just both players not knowing the available bingos. And some of them, I think, comparatively obscure. And yeah, missed these possibilities. I mean, that's a lane that's a little harder to spot. We did see it ourselves, but it wasn't immediately obvious. Detained was clearly the only play. So I didn't think of just playing Doxy down there. I wasn't keen on keeping the double R, but actually it is much better to just maybe kill off the triple lane. I didn't see Rax in a better spot. Look at this. YDRAD. Idrad. Metroid Idrad. And then you still have 2 spots open for the X to go down. So, yeah, we should have prioritized taking down that lane. But, oh well. Reggie actually comes out ahead on this one. Recommending just fish one. Interesting. That dangles a nice S lane, I guess, on a board that needs some lanes. And we did find a Vow over here, finishing very marginally ahead of Vow. Again, the mistake size and the mistake index don't give you very much information at the higher or lower ends of win percentage. Like when everything is close to 100 or everything is close to 0, it's going to think that plays make very little difference from each other. And so you can't put too much an emphasis on that particular factor. Because at this point, if I'm just not outright blowing the whole game, it's going to think that I'm doing pretty well. And put down below. That gets into pre-end game already. So yeah, I didn't see Linktis as a possibility over there, and I just didn't know Drukt for the hook for Indults. We found Utensil down here instead as a 21 point sacrifice. And of course, the problem with not taking that spot is that, you know, the B was a risk, but again, these are all winning plays at this point, so nothing will be a problem. Where's Lear? Oh, okay, interesting. Difficult spot. That's it for that. Let's take a look at round 6 quickly, and then I just close it out after that. Okay, this one was fine. Missed Paltrally, obviously. That's a huge drop. Yeah, a lot of plays kind of finish above Ally there as well. Artily, very nice. Artily. I was thinking about Tally and Rally. Tally actually does finish a little bit better above just Ally here, even though the T kind of dangles the lane on the left. And definitely we didn't like drawing into the double T on the draw immediately afterwards. So yeah, Nova over here, so Trim is the natural play. Deft, it turns out pretty well. The sim also likes this defat in the same spot. Defat, though, you would think, yeah, defat does take an S on the right side. I would have been a little bit reluctant for that reason. But I guess the way it's looking at this here is that, you know, the vowels are placed in such a way that we could potentially follow up with the X. That's probably why defat is still turning out decently, even though it's risky. Anyway, it's going to go down the left side. So on this turn, ooh, look at that. Beautiful overlap over here, keeping PX once again. Now, the sim didn't check VOG. So we don't know how VOG compares for the X setup. We'd have to take it to the Macondo terminal and do a fuller play generation, I think, to look at that one properly, because that one just got straight up ruined. Easel to go down. So yeah, mistake here by not playing Gob. I saw it right away. I shied away from it. Now this one here, yeah, what I've found, especially with doing things like the equity puzzles that you can do on Woogles, which are taken from real games, is that when you're in this kind of situation where you don't have a good Q play, you should actually go for turnover. Especially because we do have the QIN spot on the left, but then here, you know, we try to draw heavily to open up more possibilities that if we're not playing off the Q, we need to play lots of tiles, not just a few to grab a spot. Although ultimately we lose the race for the body spot on the right. Yoni actually scores even better. And what are we looking at here? Played off just a Q again. Even the Q doesn't do that badly when the Q spot is still open and you are able to play off a good number of tiles to, in this case, also close things down a little bit, with HM only taking the O on top. Yeah, missed just playing Jive there. Regimes will obviously turn out just fine. I did not know this, and I guess at this stage in the game, then that scores enough that even burning the blank on it still essentially seals it. Japanese for a climbing shrub. I definitely want to check lexica for that one. Good in both. So yeah, opponent misses fundies. That's going to drop the win percentage dramatically. Because at this point, you know, with 10 tiles in a bag, a blank unseen, it is theoretically possible from my opponent's point of view to play 2 bingos, which is the winning route. So EUOI, I was considering this play. I was just hoping at that point that I could still take the TE spot. Actually, it is still open if you start one tile earlier, which we didn't consider closely enough as a risk, especially with you as the second tile. We didn't consider that either, and definitely missed the possibility. So yeah, fadings is considered a big mistake, but at this point, I think, oh, that's interesting, a 21% win percentage on this. There is 5 in the bag, so this would be a play that empties the bag, but then maybe, given the bag, it's seeing the possibility of drawing into a winning play coming out of it. That's interesting, though, because, yeah, because fadings gives a lot back to me. That's the thing, is that it's seeing from the bag that, you know, my bingo percentage is still going to be very good, but that if you play 5 like this, I don't know, that empties the bag, though. I mean, you know, it's still 20% win percentage, I guess. In this kind of situation, I would have needed to draw into a rack that does not bingo. And so you would have an empty bag, and then my opponent just needs to draw into a bingo to win. Which it's actually reading with this pool here. That bingo percentage in this spot is actually going to be 74% for my opponent coming out of Fidge. That is not an intuitive thing to do, to like pass up a bingo to play it off on one blank and try to draw into the pool. Now, I know what I'm holding. I know that I've got the other blank. But at the same time, I'm so vowel heavy that I wonder if some of the draws might have worked out. But yeah, fadings kind of yields the game to me because I'm able to counterplay into that regardless. And of course, we do have the 4 points down from optimal. But that's kind of an interesting situation there from my opponent's perspective at the end. Okay, so that is it for today's stream. Again, unfortunate that we only managed to get 5 games in just due to the pairings error. But it worked out. We had 2 real wins, 3 losses, and saw a few interesting endgame situations where I think in each of those cases I kind of lost a few turns before the actual ending, but through the fog of war, it was hard to see that at the time and figure out where exactly the critical moment was. So I'm glad we had some time to step through that. And thank you, as usual, for joining me for this session. And we'll come back for this as often as we can, week to week, depending on how the schedule shakes out. Getting later into this week, we'll probably be dipping back into more of the Yoshi endgame. We're getting closer to seeing the final levels, I think. And then we've got some other things that are potentially planned for late in the week as well. So, but Scrabble will, from time to time, return. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me for so much of the chatter and analysis today, and some troublesome plays along the way. But have a wonderful time ahead of you with whatever it is you may be doing. And as always, fare thee well.